Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're doing a deep dive into the life and, really, the incredible legacy of a man who made science super cool for a lot of us by bringing it into sports. John Brenkus.
Yeah, the Emmy-winning host, co-creator of Sports Science. Just an iconic show.
Exactly. And we've been looking through, various sources, articles, some interviews, social media tributes to really get a handle on his impact, his career, and also respectfully talk about the circumstances around his recent passing.
Right. Our goal here for this dive is to figure out how he managed to connect those dots, between complicated science stuff and amazing athletic moments.
And what kind of mark his work left. Plus, share his story, including, the difficult side, the battle with depression that the sources mention he faced.
And the thing that really hooked people, I think the reason Sports Science was such a hit was how it did it. It was just showing sports clips. It used cutting-edge tech and really clear explanations to show the physics behind it all.
Yeah, the hidden forces, the stuff you don't see.
Exactly, making the science make sense through the sports and the sports make more sense through the science. It worked both ways.
So to really get the show, we need to start with the man himself. Who was John Brenkus, fundamentally?
Well, he was the face and a key mind behind Sports Science, Emmy winner, like we said.
Right.
Co-founded Base Productions, which made the show, and then later he founded Brinks.TV.
Okay.
And when he won in D.C., went to the University of Virginia.
Okay. And we should probably mention there's a slight discrepancy. Some reports say 53 at his passing, but based on the birth date.
Yeah, others calculate 54, just something we noticed in the sources. But regardless, the news itself is just very sad.
Absolutely.
The announcement came via Brinks TV, shared widely, and it was direct about the cause, stating he had been battling depression and, tragically, lost his fight with this terrible illness.
Which is just, it puts everything else into perspective, really.
It does.
But let's look at the show itself. Sports Science. What was the magic there, the core concept?
Well, it sounds simple, maybe, but the execution was brilliant. It was about testing sports myths, answering those how did they do that questions using actual science.
Like using high-speed cameras, sensors.
Exactly. Motion capture, all that tech to measure stuff like momentum, how much force is behind a hit or a throw, or friction, what slows a puck down. And just, basic laws of gravity applied to amazing athletic feats. It showed me the numbers, the physics.
And it had legs. It wasn't just a flash in the pan. Started on Fox Sports Network, 2007?
That's right. Then jumped over to ESPN, was a big part of their programming into the 2010s.
And it wasn't just viewers who loved it. 6 Emmys.
Yeah.
That's serious recognition.
Definitely. And Brenkus himself was, a huge part of that. His personality.
Yeah.
Just really energetic, seemed genuinely curious. And he could take something complex like, angular momentum in figure skating.
Right.
And just break it down so it clicked, even if physics wasn't your thing in school,
Totally. You'd see a golfer's drive, and suddenly you're understanding clubhead speed physics.
Or they'd show a snowboarder doing a quad flip and explain, how they're pulling 4 Gs of force in that spin.
4 times their body weight. That's wild.
It really puts it in perspective.
And it wasn't always the huge, extreme stuff either. I remember seeing bits about, wiffle balls.
Oh, yeah. Explaining why the holes make it curve like crazy. It was about finding the science everywhere, from the elite down to backyard games.
That Saquon Barkley segment, that one really seems to stand out in the reports we saw.
That was pretty intense. They put him through the ringer, temperature-wise, 20 degrees Fahrenheit, then up to 170.
They soaked him with water, too, right?
Yeah, drenched him.
Yeah.
And the finding was just that he barely slowed down.
That's just nuts. What does that even tell us about him, about elite athletes?
Well, the sources frame it as showing this incredible capacity of a finely tuned human body, how it regulates, how it maintains performance even under extreme stress.
So it's quantifying that toughness.
Kind of, yeah. It's the science behind that resilience you see at the top level. Makes you really appreciate the biological and physical conditioning involved.
Brenkus apparently had a favorite detail, something he shared, I think it was on Reddit years ago.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
It was about baseball. The moment the bat hits the ball.
Okay.
He loved pointing out this fact. Theoretically, you could let go of the bat 1,000th of a second before contact.
Wait, let go before you hit it?
Yeah, 0.001 seconds before.
Yeah.
And the ball would travel just as far.
No way! That feels completely wrong. You think you need that follow-through, that grip.
Right. It's totally counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But that's what sports science did best. They used the super slow-mo, the analysis, to show why.
So the energy transfer happens that fast.
Exactly. It's so quick, so violent, that the bat's motion is basically locked in during that last tiny fraction of a second. Whether your hands are technically still gripping it or not doesn't change the outcome.
Huh. Mind blown. Okay, that's a good example of the kind of stuff they uncovered.
Yeah, those hidden truths were the magic. And the show itself, the tome, was always described as kind of whimsical, fun, even with the serious science.
Made it really watchable, not like a dry lecture.
Definitely not. And, besides sports science, he did other things, too. He was an executive producer on Crime 360 back in 2008.
Right, the true crime show. And he also wrote a book, didn't he? The Perfection Point.
Yeah, 2010. New York Times bestseller. And it tied right into his whole thing, using science to figure out the absolute limits of human athletic performance.
So, like, what's the fastest a human could ever run?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Exactly. The sources mentioned some specifics he calculated, like the 100-meter dash, theoretically possible in 8.99 seconds.
Wow, sub-9.
A marathon in 1 hour, 57 minutes, 58 seconds.
Under 2 hours. People are getting close now, but wow.
And dunking a basketball on a hoop set at 14 feet 5 inches.
Good grief. That's just, it really stretches your idea of what's possible.
It does, pushing those boundaries, at least theoretically.
So while he's doing all this work calculating, the peaks of physical human potential, the sources also make it clear he was dealing with some really deep internal struggles himself.
Yeah, and he was actually quite open about it, at least later on. There's this really powerful and, frankly, difficult story from a 2023 interview he did. It was with Marcellus Wiley, the former NFL player.
Mm-hmm. What did he share?
He talked about a time he attempted to take his own life.
Yeah.
And that his dog actually intervened, kind of snapped him out of it, got him to move.
Oh, wow. That's heavy.
Yeah. And he described it in the interview. He said, in my suicidal funk, was like, what am I doing? I literally picked up my phone, called my mom. I said, there's something wrong with me. I am mentally lost.
Just heartbreaking to hear him recount that.
And he talked about the battle, his word, the incredibly hard work it took to pull himself out of that state.
Which makes the official announcement about his passing, it provides really important context, doesn't it? That it followed a battle with depression.
Absolutely. It underscores that these struggles are real and they can affect anyone, even people who seem successful and energetic on the surface.
And the message from his family and friends, asking for privacy, but also urging others who are struggling
To seek help.
Yeah.
A vital message.
Definitely.
In the days after the news broke, the tributes started coming in. Lots from the sports world.
Yeah, we saw notes from people like Adam Schefter at ESPN, Robert Griffin III,
RGI. Yeah.
Christy Dosh, who covers college sports. A lot of respect being shown.
And the themes were pretty consistent, weren't they? People recognizing his talent. Schefter said he was so good at what he did.
Right. Praising the show, incredible show, was how Dosh put it. And also speaking to his character, Dosh mentioned she'd never heard anything but good things about him.
Just a sense of loss for someone who genuinely made a unique contribution.
And there were little personal details, too, in some sources. Like, apparently, he first wanted to be a film director.
Oh, interesting.
And he played guitar, recorded music. Just adds another layer to the person behind the show, a creative guy through and through.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, we've looked at John Brenkus, his, really groundbreaking work making sports science, engaging in fun with sports science.
Right. His other achievements, too, like the book pushing the idea of athletic limits.
And we've also, had to acknowledge the tragic reality of his struggle with depression, something he himself had spoken about.
It really brings two big ideas together, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You've got the science, breaking down peak physical performance, showing what the human body can do, the absolute edge.
Yeah, the measurable limits.
And then you have the internal world, the mind, where the challenges can be just as immense, but often hidden, much harder to measure.
It's a stark contrast. Sports science showed us the incredible physical heights achievable, backed by data. But this look at his life reminds us that mental resilience, navigating those internal battles, that's maybe just as critical a frontier, perhaps even more so.
It really makes you think, doesn't it, about the public faces we see, the image of strength, and the unseen struggles that might be going on behind the scenes. What does his story make you consider about that?